After a devastating hurricane separates a family, a faithful dog waits on the destroyed porch for 5 years until a young social worker discovers what happened and initiates an exciting search. However, when some buried secrets are revealed, they leave everyone in tears. The quaint coastal town of Seaside Haven, nestled along the picturesque shores of New England, was a slice of Americana frozen in time. White picket fences lined the streets, where colonial-style houses stood proudly against the backdrop of the Atlantic Ocean. The salty breeze carried the scent of freshly baked apple pie from Mrs. Wilson's bakery, mingling with the aroma of blooming hydrangeas that adorned every other front yard. On Cherry Lane, a 2-story blue clapboard house stood out with its wraparound porch and American flag fluttering gently in the wind. This was the Johnson family home, where laughter echoed through open windows, and the joyful barks of their beloved Labrador Ginger often filled the air. As the sun began to set on an unusually warm September evening, the sky transformed into a canvas of vibrant oranges and pinks. The lighthouse at Rocky Point cast its protective beam across the darkening waters, a silent sentinel warning of the dangers that lurked beyond the horizon. Unbeknownst to the residents of Seaside Haven, their lives were about to change forever. Weather reports flashed urgent warnings on television screens, and smartphones buzzed with emergency alerts. Hurricane Eliza, a Category 5 storm, was barreling towards the coast with unprecedented speed and ferocity. The once tranquil streets now hummed with nervous energy as residents boarded up windows and stocked up on supplies. The local high school, Seaside High, transformed into a makeshift shelter, its hallways lined with cots and worried faces. As the wind began to howl and the first raindrops fell, a sense of impending doom settled over the town like a heavy blanket. Meet Ginger, a 5-year-old golden Labrador with eyes that sparkled like amber in the sunlight. Her coat was the color of warm honey, and her tail wagged with such enthusiasm it could sweep clean an entire coffee table in seconds. Ginger was more than just a pet to the Johnson family. She was their furry guardian angel, their confidant, and their source of boundless joy. Tom Johnson, a respected high school history teacher, had brought Ginger home as a surprise for his wife Sarah's 40th birthday. From the moment she bounded through the front door, a wriggling ball of golden fur, Ginger had captured their hearts. She slept at the foot of 12-year-old Emma's bed, chased squirrels in the backyard with 10-year-old Ethan, and was Sarah's loyal companion during her morning jogs along the beach. As Hurricane Eliza approached, the Johnsons, like many families in Seaside Haven, faced a difficult decision. The local authorities had issued a mandatory evacuation order, but leaving their beloved home behind was heartbreaking. Tom stood at the living room window, his usually cheerful face etched with worry lines, as he watched the palm trees bend almost horizontally in the strengthening wind. Sarah bustled about the house, her auburn hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, throwing essentials into suitcases. Her hands trembled slightly as she packed photo albums and family heirlooms, unsure if she'd ever see their home intact again. Emma, a spitting image of her mother with freckles sprinkled across her nose, clutched her favorite stuffed animal, a well-worn teddy bear that Ginger had helped her pick out at the county fair 2 summers ago. Her eyes darted nervously between her parents, sensing the gravity of the situation. Ginger, ever attuned to her family's emotions, moved from one family member to another, offering gentle nudges and comforting licks. Her tail, usually a metronome of happiness, now wagged with a nervous energy that mirrored the tension in the house. As the family prepared to leave, Ginger's behavior became increasingly agitated. She paced back and forth between the front door and the family, her whines growing more insistent. It was as if she sensed the impending danger and was trying to herd her human pack to safety. The Johnson family piled into their SUV, with Ginger settled in the back amongst the hastily packed bags. As Tom turned the key in the ignition, a deafening crack split the air. A massive oak tree, unable to withstand the hurricane's brutal winds any longer, came crashing down across their driveway, blocking their exit. Panic set in as the realization dawned that they were trapped. The wind howled with increasing ferocity, and the rain lashed against the windows in sheets. Tom made a split-second decision. "We need to get to higher ground," he shouted over the storm's roar. "The attic is our best bet." As they scrambled out of the car, the wind nearly knocked them off their feet. Tom scooped up Ethan, while Sarah grabbed Emma's hand. Ginger, sensing the urgency, bounded ahead, leading the way back to the house. In those chaotic moments, as the family rushed inside and up the stairs, no one noticed that Ginger wasn't with them. The loyal Labrador had turned back, distracted by a familiar scent. Ethan's beloved baseball glove, left behind in the car. By the time Ginger retrieved the glove and made it back to the house, the surge of water had already begun to flood the ground floor. The last thing the Johnsons heard before the power went out and plunged them into darkness was Ginger's desperate bark, barely audible over the roar of the wind and water. In that moment, as Hurricane Eliza unleashed its full fury on Seaside Haven, the bond between Ginger and her family would be tested in ways they could never have imagined. The stage was set for a tale of unwavering loyalty, community spirit, and the extraordinary resilience of both humans and animals in the face of nature's most formidable challenges. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the dissipating storm clouds, they revealed a landscape forever changed. Seaside Haven, once a picturesque New England town, now resembled a war zone. The streets were rivers of debris, houses stood in ruins, and the air was thick with the acrid smell of saltwater and despair. Amidst this chaos, a golden figure moved with purpose. Ginger, covered in mud and debris, navigated the wreckage with determination. Her usual bouncy gait was replaced by a cautious tread, her nose working overtime to catch any familiar scent. The devastation was overwhelming, but Ginger had one mission: to find her family. Day after day, Ginger returned to the remains of the Johnson family home. The blue clapboard house that once stood proudly on Cherry Lane was now a skeletal structure, its windows gaping like hollow eyes. Yet, for Ginger, it was the only connection to her loved ones. As weeks turned into months, Ginger's routine became a fixture in the slowly recovering town. She would spend her days searching the area, her nights curled up on what remained of the front porch. Her once lustrous coat became matted and dull, her ribs more pronounced, but her amber eyes never lost their spark of hope. Miles away, in a crowded shelter in Boston, the Johnson family grappled with their new reality. Tom, his usual cheerful demeanor replaced by a stoic mask, spent his days on the phone with insurance companies and government agencies. Sarah threw herself into volunteering at the shelter, finding purpose in helping others while battling her own sense of loss. Emma and Ethan, resilient in the way only children can be, adapted to their new surroundings but never stopped asking about Ginger. Each night, Emma would clutch her teddy bear and whisper a prayer for their furry friend, while Ethan slept with his rescued baseball glove, a tangible reminder of Ginger's last heroic act. As the months stretched on, the Johnsons faced the heart-wrenching decision to relocate. With Seaside Haven in ruins and job opportunities scarce, they reluctantly moved to a small apartment in Hartford, Connecticut. The move was bittersweet, a chance for a fresh start, but also an admission that their old life and possibly Ginger were lost forever. Back in Seaside Haven, Ginger's presence began to attract attention. Local residents, returning to salvage what they could, often spotted the loyal Labrador making her rounds. Word spread, and soon Ginger became a symbol of resilience for the battered community. Enter Emma Lawrence, a 28-year-old volunteer with the Humane Society. Originally from Portland, Maine, Emma had come to Seaside Haven as part of the disaster response team. With her fiery red hair and freckled face, she stood out among the weary rescue workers, but it was her unwavering compassion that truly set her apart. When Emma first heard about the miracle dog that had survived the hurricane, she was intrigued, but it wasn't until she saw Ginger with her own eyes, steadfastly guarding the ruins of her former home, that Emma felt a calling. In Ginger's devoted vigil, Emma saw a reflection of her own determination to make a difference. From that moment on, Emma made it her mission to care for Ginger while trying to uncover the dog's history. She would visit daily, bringing food and fresh water, slowly earning Ginger's trust. At first, Ginger was wary, accepting the offerings but keeping her distance. But as days turned into weeks, the bond between the two grew. Emma's gentle persistence began to pay off. Ginger started to wag her tail at Emma's approach, even allowing the occasional pat or scratch behind the ears. Yet, no matter how much affection Ginger showed Emma, she never strayed far from the ruined house. It was as if she was tethered to the spot by an invisible thread of hope. As Emma spent more time with Ginger, she became increasingly curious about the dog's past. She began to piece together Ginger's story, talking to neighbors who had returned and scouring old town records. Each new detail fueled Emma's determination to reunite Ginger with her family, wherever they might be. The path to reuniting Ginger with her family was fraught with obstacles. The first and most daunting challenge was the sheer scale of destruction left by Hurricane Eliza. Seaside Haven's infrastructure had been decimated. Roads were impassable, communication lines were down, and many official records had been lost in the flooding. Emma's initial attempts to locate the Johnsons through local channels proved frustrating. The town hall, which would have held residency records, had been reduced to rubble. The local animal shelter's database, which might have contained Ginger's registration information, was irretrievable due to water damage. As weeks turned into months, Emma faced growing pressure from her superiors at the Humane Society. Resources were stretched thin, and some argued that efforts should be focused on animals in immediate danger rather than on finding the owners of one well-cared-for dog. Emma had to fight to keep Ginger's case active, often working overtime and using her own resources to continue the search. The changing seasons brought new challenges. As summer faded into a harsh New England autumn, Emma worried about Ginger's ability to survive outdoors. She tried repeatedly to coax Ginger into coming to the temporary animal shelter, but the loyal dog refused to leave her post. Emma resorted to building a makeshift shelter near the ruins of the Johnson home, spending cold nights ensuring Ginger was warm and fed. Winter brought its own set of problems. Blizzards blanketed the town in snow, making it difficult for Emma to reach Ginger daily. There were terrifying days when the snow was so deep that Emma had to dig through drifts, her heart pounding with fear that she might find Ginger frozen beneath the white blanket. But each time, she would find the resilient lab huddled in her shelter, tail wagging at Emma's approach. As the search dragged on, Emma faced emotional challenges as well. Each dead end and false lead chipped away at her optimism. There were nights when she lay awake, questioning whether she was doing the right thing. Was she giving Ginger false hope? Would it be kinder to find her a new home? But every morning, when she saw the trust and hope in Ginger's eyes, Emma found the strength to continue. The local community, initially supportive, began to lose interest as time passed. Donations for Ginger's care dwindled, and fewer volunteers showed up to help with the search efforts. Emma found herself increasingly isolated, her mission viewed as a quixotic endeavor by many. Perhaps the most heartbreaking obstacle came in the form of bureaucratic red tape. When Emma finally managed to get a lead on the Johnsons through a regional database, she hit a wall of privacy regulations. Without proof of ownership or direct authorization from the family, many agencies refused to release any information. As the one-year anniversary of Hurricane Eliza approached, Emma faced her biggest challenge yet. A developer, seeing opportunity in the devastated beachfront, had begun buying up properties in Seaside Haven. The plot, where the Johnson house stood, was slated for demolition to make way for a new condominium complex. Emma now found herself in a race against time. Not only did she have to find the Johnsons, but she also had to do it before Ginger lost the only connection to her past. The thought of the loyal dog watching as the last remnants of her home were bulldozed was unbearable. In her darkest moment, Emma sat beside Ginger on the weathered porch steps, tears streaming down her face. "I won't give up on you," she whispered, burying her face in Ginger's fur. "We'll find them, I promise." As if understanding, Ginger nuzzled Emma's hand, two souls united in their unwavering hope. Faced with the imminent threat of demolition, Emma knew she had to take drastic action. She decided to leverage the power of social media and local news to spread Ginger's story far and wide. Emma created a Facebook page titled "Bringing Ginger Home" and began posting daily updates about the loyal dog's vigil. At first, the response was lukewarm, but as Emma shared more details about Ginger's unwavering loyalty and the race against time, the page began to gain traction. Local residents shared their own memories of seeing Ginger in the neighborhood before the hurricane, adding pieces to the puzzle of her history. Emma's next step was to approach local news stations. She was initially met with skepticism. After all, there was no shortage of heart-wrenching stories in the wake of Hurricane Eliza. But Emma's passion was contagious, and eventually a junior reporter from a Providence TV station agreed to do a short feature on Ginger. The day of the filming, Emma was a bundle of nerves. She brushed Ginger's coat until it shone, hoping to capture the essence of the beloved family dog she must have been. As the cameras rolled and Emma recounted Ginger's story, something remarkable happened. Ginger, as if sensing the importance of the moment, sat regally beside Emma, her amber eyes gazing soulfully into the camera. The story aired on a quiet Tuesday evening, sandwiched between the weather report and sports highlights. Emma watched with bated breath, hoping that somewhere out there the Johnsons might be watching too. As the segment ended, she hugged Ginger tight, whispering, "We did our best, girl. Now we wait." The response was beyond anything Emma could have imagined. By morning, the Bringing Ginger Home Facebook page had gone viral. Messages poured in from across the country, with people sharing the story and offering help. Local businesses in Seaside Haven, inspired by Ginger's loyalty, banded together to postpone the demolition plans, buying Emma precious extra time. Energized by the outpouring of support, Emma redoubled her efforts. She organized volunteer search parties to comb through evacuation records from neighboring states. She worked with tech-savvy volunteers to create a database cross-referencing pet license records with hurricane evacuation data. As Ginger's story spread, it began to take on a life of its own. A local artist painted a mural of Ginger on the side of the rebuilding town hall, becoming a symbol of the town's resilience. A children's book author reached out, asking to tell Ginger's story. Each new development brought renewed hope and potential new leads. Emma's dedication began to inspire others in Seaside Haven. Residents who had been considering abandoning the town permanently were moved by Ginger's unwavering faith. Slowly, the community began to rally, not just around Ginger, but around the idea of rebuilding their town. Through it all, Ginger remained a steady presence, her routine unchanged. Each day, she would walk the boundaries of her former home as if patrolling for her lost family. And each evening, she would sit on the porch steps, eyes fixed on the horizon, waiting. As weeks passed, Emma's commitment never wavered, but the emotional toll was evident. There were moments of despair when leads ran cold, and the enormity of finding one family in a country of millions seemed impossible. In these moments, it was Ginger who comforted Emma, offering a paw on her lap or a gentle lick to her hand. Just as it seemed all avenues had been exhausted, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A nurse at a rehabilitation center in Hartford, Connecticut, recognized Ginger from a shared Facebook post. She recalled a patient, Sarah Johnson, who often spoke of her lost dog while recovering from injuries sustained during Hurricane Eliza. With trembling hands, Emma dialed the number provided by the nurse. As the phone rang, she felt Ginger press against her leg, as if sensing the importance of the moment. When a woman's voice answered, Emma took a deep breath and said, "Hello, my name is Emma Lawrence. I'm calling about a very special dog named Ginger." The phone call with Sarah Johnson was both a breakthrough and the beginning of an emotional roller coaster. Sarah's voice trembled as Emma described Ginger, and she broke down in tears when she heard about the dog's unwavering vigil. "It's her," Sarah sobbed. "It's really her. Oh God, we thought we'd lost her forever. As Sarah recounted the harrowing tale of their escape from the hurricane, Emma's heart raced. The Johnsons had indeed been trapped in their attic, rescued by the Coast Guard after 2 terrifying days. In the chaos of the evacuation, they had searched desperately for Ginger, but found no trace. Assuming the worst, they had eventually been forced to leave, their hearts broken. The family's journey after the hurricane had been fraught with challenges. Tom had suffered a severe injury during the rescue, requiring multiple surgeries and extensive rehabilitation. This, combined with the loss of their home and possessions, had forced the family to relocate to Hartford for Tom's treatment and to rebuild their lives. As Emma shared updates about Ginger's condition and unwavering loyalty, Sarah's tears flowed freely. The thought that their beloved pet had been waiting for them all this time was overwhelming. "We have to come," Sarah said decisively. "We have to come right away." However, the reunion wouldn't be as simple as jumping in a car and driving to Seaside Haven. Tom was still recovering, and the family's finances had been stretched to the breaking point by medical bills and the costs of starting over. Moreover, Emma worried about the emotional impact on Ginger. After 5 years, would she remember her family? How would she react? The next few days were a flurry of activity. Emma worked tirelessly to arrange the reunion, coordinating with local businesses and volunteers who had been touched by Ginger's story. A local hotel offered to host the Johnsons for free. The town's rebuild committee expedited repairs on the road leading to the old Johnson property. Donations poured in to cover the family's travel expenses. As the day of the reunion approached, Emma found herself growing increasingly anxious. She spent extra time with Ginger, trying to prepare her for the changes to come. "Your family is coming, girl," she would whisper, her voice catching. "You've waited so long and they're finally coming." The morning of the reunion dawned bright and clear, a perfect New England autumn day. Emma arrived at the old Johnson property early, her stomach in knots. She had decided, after much deliberation, to keep Ginger's routine as normal as possible. As always, Ginger was there on the porch, her tail wagging gently at Emma's approach. As they waited, Emma found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment. She thought about the countless nights spent worrying about Ginger, the frustrations and setbacks, and the moments of hope that had kept her going. She realized with a start how much Ginger had come to mean to her. The thought of saying goodbye brought an unexpected pang to her heart. The sound of an approaching car broke through Emma's reverie. She stood, her heart pounding, as a rental van pulled up to the property. For a moment, everything seemed to stand still. Then, the van doors opened, and the Johnson family emerged. Sarah was the first out, her eyes immediately scanning the area for Ginger. Tom followed slowly, leaning on a cane, his face a mix of hope and apprehension. Emma and Ethan tumbled out last, now teenagers, but with the same eager excitement they must have had as children. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Ginger let out a bark, not the calm woof Emma had grown accustomed to, but a joyous, puppy-like yelp. Then she was off like a shot, racing across the overgrown yard towards her long-lost family. Sarah fell to her knees, arms outstretched as Ginger barreled into her. The force of the dog's enthusiasm knocked Sarah backwards, and suddenly the entire Johnson family was on the ground, laughing and crying, as Ginger showered them with 5 years' worth of pent-up kisses. Emma watched from a distance, tears streaming down her face, as the reunion she had worked so hard for finally came to fruition. The sight of Ginger, her tail wagging so hard her entire body shook, surrounded by her ecstatic family, was almost too much to bear. As the initial excitement began to subside, Emma saw Tom look up, his eyes meeting hers. Slowly supporting himself on his cane, he stood and made his way over to her. "You must be Emma," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "We can never thank you enough for what you've done." Emma tried to speak, but found she couldn't pass the lump in her throat. Instead, she simply nodded, wiping at her tears. Tom reached out and pulled her into a hug, and suddenly Emma found herself at the center of the Johnson family's gratitude, with Ginger prancing excitedly around them all. As the initial euphoria of the reunion began to settle, a new reality started to dawn on everyone present. The Johnsons, overjoyed as they were to be reunited with Ginger, were faced with a difficult decision. Their life was now in Hartford, where Tom's ongoing medical treatments and the children's schools kept them rooted. The idea of uprooting again, especially given their financial situation, seemed impossible. Emma, watching the family interact with Ginger, felt a growing sense of unease. She had worked so hard for this moment, but now that it was here, she realized she hadn't thought beyond it. What would happen to Ginger now? The thought of the loyal dog being taken away from the only home she'd known for 5 years was heart-wrenching. As if sensing the tension, Ginger's behavior began to change. She would bounce happily between her family and Emma, her tail wagging furiously, clearly overjoyed, but also seemingly unwilling to leave either side. It was as if she was trying to keep her old family and her new caretaker together. The Johnsons, too, were noticing the strong bond between Emma and Ginger. They saw how the dog looked to Emma for reassurance, how she responded to Emma's subtle cues. It was clear that while Ginger remembered and loved her family, Emma had become an essential part of her life. As the day wore on, the weight of the impending decision hung heavy in the air. It was Sarah who finally broached the subject, her voice quavering as she spoke. "Emma, we can't thank you enough for everything you've done. But we don't know if we can take Ginger back with us." The words hung in the air, heavy with emotion. Emma felt her heart sink, even as a small part of her leapt at the idea of Ginger staying. The conflict of emotions must have shown on her face, because Tom quickly jumped in. Emma nodded, understanding their predicament, even as her mind raced for solutions. Maybe we could look into some kind of shared custody arrangement," she suggested hesitantly. "I could continue to care for Ginger here, and you could visit as often as you can." As they discussed the possibilities, Ethan, who had been quietly petting Ginger, suddenly spoke up. "Mom, Dad," he said, his voice small but determined. I think Ginger should stay here." The wisdom from the young boy's words struck everyone silent. Emma felt tears welling up in her eyes again, touched by Ethan's insight and selflessness. The Johnsons looked at each other, a silent communication passing between them. The decision, once made, seemed to lift a weight from everyone's shoulders. There were more tears, but also laughter as they began to plan for the future. The Johnsons would visit as often as they could, and Emma promised to send regular updates and photos. As the sun began to set on this emotional day, Emma watched as the Johnsons said their goodbyes to Ginger. There were hugs and kisses and promises to return soon. Ginger, for her part, seemed to understand, giving each family member an extra nuzzle before trotting back to Emma's side. Ginger looked up at her, those soulful amber eyes filled with what Emma could swear was understanding and love. As they walked back to the porch together, Emma realized that sometimes family isn't just about blood or the past. Sometimes it's about the bonds forged through loyalty, dedication, and love, a lesson Ginger had taught them all. In the weeks following the emotional reunion, a new rhythm began to take shape in Seaside Haven. Emma, now Ginger's official guardian, threw herself into creating a stable and loving home for her canine companion. The bond between them, already strong, deepened with each passing day. Emma's small rental cottage, once sparsely furnished and feeling temporary, was transformed into a warm, dog-friendly haven. A plush dog bed took pride of place in the living room, though Ginger often preferred to curl up next to Emma on the couch. Photos of Ginger with both Emma and the Johnsons adorned the walls, a visual reminder of the unique family they had created. The first major challenge came when Emma had to return to her regular work schedule at the local veterinary clinic. Leaving Ginger alone was heart-wrenching, and Emma worried constantly about how the dog would cope. To her relief and joy, she returned home that first day to find Ginger waiting patiently by the door, tail wagging. It seemed that after years of waiting, Ginger understood that Emma would always come back. As promised, Emma kept the Johnsons updated on Ginger's life. She sent daily pictures and weekly video calls, allowing the family to remain a part of Ginger's life from afar. These updates became a source of joy and healing for the Johnsons, helping them to process their grief and celebrate Ginger's new life. The arrangement wasn't without its challenges. There were days when Emma felt overwhelmed by the responsibility, wondering if she was doing right by both Ginger and the Johnsons. But in those moments, a warm nuzzle from Ginger or an appreciative message from Sarah Johnson would remind her of the importance of their unique situation. As news of Ginger's story spread, Emma found herself and Ginger becoming local celebrities. People would stop them on their walks to pat Ginger and praise Emma for her dedication. This attention led to an unexpected opportunity when a local publisher approached Emma about writing a children's book based on Ginger's story. At first, Emma was hesitant. She was a vet tech, not a writer, but as she thought about the lessons of loyalty, perseverance, and the true meaning of family that Ginger's story embodied, she realized this was a chance to share those messages with a wider audience. With the Johnsons' blessing, Emma began work on Ginger's Long Wait, a tale of a dog's unwavering love and the community that came together to help her. The process of writing the book became a form of therapy for Emma, allowing her to process the emotional journey of the past years. She would often read drafts to Ginger, who would listen with perked ears, as if understanding every word. As months passed, Seaside Haven continued its recovery from Hurricane Eliza. The town's rebuilding efforts, once sluggish, had found new energy in the wake of Ginger's story. Emma and Ginger became regulars at community events, with Ginger serving as a furry ambassador of hope and resilience. The Johnsons made their first visit back to Seaside Haven 6 months after the reunion. It was a weekend filled with laughter, tears, and lots of belly rubs for Ginger. Seeing Ginger so happy and well cared for helped bring closure to the family, easing the lingering guilt they felt over leaving her behind. During this visit, a particularly poignant moment occurred when the family visited the site of their old home. The plot, once scheduled for demolition, had been transformed into a small community garden with a statue of a Labrador, unmistakably modeled after Ginger, as its centerpiece. A plaque told Ginger's story, serving as a reminder of the power of love and community in the face of adversity. As Emma watched the Johnsons explore the garden, with Ginger trotting happily between her old family and her new guardian, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. The journey had been long and often difficult, but standing there, surrounded by the fruits of their collective love and dedication, Emma knew that every moment had been worth it. The emotional impact of Ginger's story rippled far beyond the borders of Seaside Haven. As Ginger's Long Wait hit bookstore shelves, letters began pouring in from readers across the country. Children wrote about how Ginger inspired them to be more loyal friends. Adults shared stories of their own lost pets and the hope Ginger's tale had given them. For Emma, each letter was a reminder of the profound impact one dog's loyalty could have. She found herself tearing up as she read accounts of families inspired to adopt shelter dogs or communities coming together to help animals in need. Ginger, seemingly aware of her newfound celebrity, carried herself with an extra spring in her step, as if proud of the joy and hope she was spreading. The Johnsons, too, felt the wide-reaching effects of Ginger's story. Tom, in particular, found unexpected healing through their experience. The guilt he had carried over leaving Ginger behind had weighed heavily on him during his recovery. But seeing the good that had come from their separation, the lives touched, the community united, helped him find peace. Emma's life transformed in ways she never could have imagined. Her work with Ginger opened doors to new opportunities in animal welfare. She was invited to speak at conferences, sharing her experiences and advocating for programs to help animals displaced by natural disasters. Through it all, Ginger remained by her side, a living testament to the power of perseverance and love. Perhaps the most profound impact was on Seaside Haven itself. The town, once struggling to rebuild, found new purpose in becoming a model of animal welfare and community resilience. Inspired by Ginger's story, the town established a state-of-the-art animal shelter and implemented one of the country's most comprehensive disaster preparedness plans for pets. As Ginger's story continued to spread, it sparked conversations about the bond between humans and animals and the responsibilities we have towards our furry companions. Schools began incorporating Ginger's long wait into their curricula, using it to teach lessons about empathy, loyalty, and community service. For Emma, watching this ripple effect unfold was both humbling and awe-inspiring. There were moments when the attention felt overwhelming, but in those times, she would look at Ginger, her steadfast, loving companion, and find strength in the dog's unwavering spirit. The emotional journey also brought unexpected personal growth for Emma. The shy, sometimes insecure young woman who had first taken on the mission of caring for Ginger had blossomed into a confident, compassionate leader in her community. She found herself more open to forming deep connections, both with animals and humans, inspired by the unconditional love Ginger had shown. For the Johnsons, each visit to Seaside Haven became a cherished family tradition. They would spend time with Ginger and Emma, visit the memorial garden, and participate in community events. These visits helped heal old wounds and create new, joyful memories. Emma and the Johnsons formed a unique extended family, bound together by their love for one extraordinary dog. As years passed, Ginger's muzzle may have grayed, but her spirit remained as bright as ever. She continued to be a beacon of hope and joy, not just for Emma and the Johnsons, but for all who knew her story. In quiet moments, Emma would often reflect on the twist of fate that had brought Ginger into her life. What had started as a mission to help a loyal dog had become a transformative journey of love, community, and self-discovery. The story of Ginger, the dog who waited, the community that cared, and the families she brought together, became more than just a tale of a pet's loyalty. It became a testament to the enduring power of love, the strength of community, and the profound impact one act of kindness can have on countless lives. As the sun set on another beautiful day in Seaside Haven, Emma and Ginger sat on the porch of their home, a nightly ritual they had maintained for years. The cool ocean breeze ruffled Ginger's fur as Emma gently stroked her head, both of them content in each other's company. Emma reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. What had started as a simple act of kindness, caring for a lost dog, had blossomed into something far greater than she could have ever imagined. Ginger's unwavering loyalty had not only reunited her with her original family, but had also given Emma a new purpose in life and brought an entire community together. The once devastated town of Seaside Haven had risen from the ruins of Hurricane Eliza, stronger and more united than ever. The community garden where the Johnsons' house once stood had become a symbol of resilience and hope, attracting visitors from far and wide who came to hear Ginger's incredible story. Emma thought about the Johnsons, who were due for their monthly visit the following weekend. Their relationship had evolved into a beautiful extended family with Ginger at the center. The once painful separation had transformed into a unique bond that enriched all their lives. As if sensing Emma's reflective mood, Ginger looked up at her, those soulful brown eyes filled with love and trust. Emma smiled, remembering the scared, lonely dog she had first encountered all those years ago. Now, Ginger was a symbol of hope, her story touching lives across the country. Ginger's tail thumped happily against the porch, her eyes never leaving Emma's face. In that moment, Emma felt a profound sense of gratitude for the twist of fate that had brought this extraordinary dog into her life. As the last rays of sunlight painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, Emma and Ginger sat together, a living testament to the enduring power of love and the unbreakable bond between humans and their animal companions. Their story of patience, perseverance, and the family they had forged would continue to inspire for generations to come. In Seaside Haven, as in hearts across the nation, Ginger's legacy would live on, a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary love stories are the ones we never expect, and that true family is found not just in blood, but in the bonds we choose to nurture and cherish. As Ginger's story became woven into the fabric of Seaside Haven and beyond, its impact continued to resonate in countless ways. The tale of the loyal Labrador who waited 5 years for her family and the community that rallied around her became a beacon of hope and inspiration for people facing their own challenges. Emma's children's book, Ginger's Long Wait, became a bestseller, finding its way into schools and homes across the country. Its message of unwavering loyalty, the power of community, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals struck a chord with readers of all ages. The royalties from the book were used to establish the Ginger Fund, a charity dedicated to helping reunite lost pets with their families and supporting animal welfare initiatives in disaster-prone areas. The Johnsons, though still based in Hartford, became integral members of the Seaside Haven community. Their regular visits evolved into active participation in town events and fundraisers. Tom, fully recovered from his injuries, used his experience to become an advocate for better disaster preparedness, especially concerning pet safety during evacuations. Seaside Haven itself underwent a remarkable transformation. Once known only for its quaint coastal charm, it became a model town for animal welfare and community resilience. The annual Ginger Day celebration drew visitors from all over, combining a pet adoption fair with workshops on disaster preparedness and community building. For Emma, life had taken a turn she never could have anticipated. From a quiet vet tech, she had become an author, animal welfare advocate, and pillar of her community. Yet, amid speaking engagements and book signings, her favorite moments remained the quiet evenings spent with Ginger, reflecting on their shared journey. Ginger, now in her golden years, continued to touch lives with her gentle spirit and unwavering loyalty. Though her muzzle had grayed and her step had slowed, her eyes still shone with the same love and trust that had captured Emma's heart years ago. As Ginger's story spread, it served as a powerful reminder of the extraordinary capacity for love and loyalty that animals possess and the profound impact they can have on human lives. It stood as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the strength found in community, and the unexpected ways in which hope can be found even in the darkest of times. 10 years after the reunion, Seaside Haven hosted a special anniversary celebration of Ginger's story. The town square was filled with families, many with adopted pets by their sides. The Johnsons, now grey-haired but still spirited, stood proudly next to Emma and an elderly but contented Ginger. As Emma addressed the crowd, sharing anecdotes from their journey, she realized that Ginger's legacy would live on far beyond her years. In the faces of the gathered crowd, in the wagging tails of the rescued dogs, and in the renewed spirit of the town, she saw the lasting impact of one dog's unwavering loyalty. Ginger's extraordinary tale of loyalty and love serves as an inspiration to us all. It reminds us of the profound bond we share with our animal companions and the incredible impact they can have on our lives and communities. Remember, every animal has a story, and every one of us has the power to change a life. Let Ginger's unwavering spirit inspire you to open your heart, lend a helping hand, and be the person your pet thinks you are.